Welcome to another Tabitha's Glass Emporium YouTube video. On Fuse Glass Digital Facebook page this month, it's Portraiture. And I had this idea of using the silhouette of people to make really personalised glass pieces. So this is like for Christmas presents for your kind of, favourite aunt out there or your grandma. Or for those of you who make money out of glass, and we're all finding it tough with the Christmas markets being cancelled, that you could really target customers with some really personalised Christmas presents for them, and to find out what they're really interested, or whoever the gift is for is really interested in, and making them something really personal for Christmas. So these are some ideas we came up with. This, using silhouettes and creating pictures in the back or a garden. There was doing some fibre paper casting and doing some deep landscapes with silhouettes. And coming up with these various different ideas. We're not, with some of these, this is using other people's proprietary techniques, and we're not showing you how to do that. We're just showing you how to take their, their idea. So you've got to go and get their ebook and then come and create something using their technique and this idea together. So I hope you like this, this video, and I'm looking forward to showing you how to do these. So the first thing we need to do is get a really good picture in very bright light of the person's silhouette. So we've lined Tonka up here against the white background in the sun. Sandra's around the back holding it, and Mila's going to make sure she's very much dead side on, getting a good photograph, lining Tonka up. If you're good in Photoshop, you can probably then turn this into a silhouette. If you're not, there's really easy YouTube videos showing how. If not, we're going to show a kind of a cheat of how to do it. And if you're, doing this for someone who you don't want them to know it's a present, you're just going to have to lie about why you want their silhouette. It's a school project or something. So luckily for me, I have the amazing whiz Mila, who's good in Photoshop. So she's turned these photographs using a very simple YouTube video we found into these silhouettes. And the great thing about Photoshop is we can then do this. And just get rid of our chins a little bit. So you can, that was a quick one, that was Mila being very quick, but we're going to go back and do it again with that. But you can basically use Photoshop. But if you don't have Photoshop or you're not very tech savvy, we're going to show you a way of doing this just on a printed one. So we want to show you two different ideas. One of them uses a sandblaster and the other doesn't. We are also very lucky here. We have Mila, who's great on Photoshop. We have a silhouette cutter, which is a die cutter, so we can cut things out. So we've taken off images, and we did one of Mila and one of Tonka, and we've put them into Photoshop. We've sort of, made sure the line is really smooth. We've edited out a bit of double chins on people perhaps, and we've made the images how we like, and then I put them into my silhouette cutter. And for Tonka, I cut one like this, so, that's the thing, and we're going to be using this, the void, to put powders down. And for Mila, we created an image that looks like sort of this. You can see it actually over here. So we had Mila's hair, which is the one on the right, and we just sort of rounded off her hair, and then we literally photoshopped in this sort of flowing wavy hair on the right. And so with that, I've got vinyl, and we will pull out the face, and once the powders are down, after they're fused down, we're going to put this on, and we're going to sandblast out the powders that we don't want. So this is a kind of a few fusings, because we're going to want, the first layer is to put the powders down, and then the second layer will be to put the detail on. But if you don't have a silhouette or aren't very good at Photoshop, then you've got other options. So this is a kind of, this is a picture of Tonka, and you literally could have just taken the picture. It didn't have to be all out like this, but you just print off the picture. Go around the outline of the face. You can see we started here, as you want it. If you want to take out a little bit of chin like so, you can. And there you've got that. Now what you want to do is, depending on which of your options you want to do, you can either stick this onto a piece of, cardstock, like thick cardstock like this, and then you can just cut round it with scissors. So, or if you want to do the vinyl option, you do the same. You kind of stick it to the back and cut round it with scissors, and that's your shape. If you want to do the kind of edit it with hair, you can just literally draw some sort of flowing locks. And guys, I'm doing this incredibly badly. I'm not really thinking about it. But, take your time and draw some flowing locks, and then you cut round those so that you get your hair shape like this. So those are your kind of, if you don't have the technology, that's your options. So we're going to look at Tonkas first. Now I've cut white glass, so white 3 mil. I'm using 113, but we don't have a lot of 13. We don't use it for very much except for flame work. So I'm just using 113. But if you have 13 or dense whites, as long as you're careful on what powders you're using for the dense white, you can use that. Now I want to take the stencil and line it up so that the neck lines up with the bottom of this, and I'm also, this has got slightly more distance than this, so I'm going to make sure that it's sort of lining up in the middle of the page too. And then I'm going to want to lay some powders down. Now the idea for me is to make a garden in Tonka's head, to sort of make a flower garden of flowers growing up and around. So I'm going to put down some darker greens and then maybe a bit of blue at the top of the head. Those sort of powders in this shape to create that, and then I'll lift off the stencil and that will go in the kiln as a tack fuse. So that is my next plan. So I've lined up the stencil and I've put these 2 bits so we can lift it up easily afterwards, and make sure this is lined up with the bottom. I'm choosing my greens first. This is Pea Pod 312. These are opals, and I'm just going to put a bit of that at the bottom. This is a bit of spring green. Adding that over the top to give it a bit more brightness. I'm going to go with a bit of mint. Two ways of using these. You're doing them like I'm doing here, which is when I'm being quick. The better way is to hold it at the end like this and then tap. I feel you get more control. So that's what that. I'm going to put a bit of emerald now in. Emerald's quite a bluey green, but I love it as a colour. It's just so vibrant. And also, a lot of these are opals, but emerald is transparent. Because this is on white, I don't think it matters so much. And I'm going to transition from that into some transparent blues. This is light turquoise. And I'm kind of blending it down. It's almost like a good makeup. You kind of really want to blend it all the way through. And I'm going to put some sky blue right at the top, light sky blue, just at the top here. Now I am going to go over here a bit and blend a bit through. And even with this one, I'll take a small amount of mint and put some sort of highlights below. And then as always as I do, I'm taking a bit of aventurine green and just put a sprinkling here and there in it. I think actually I need to remove the green up a bit. So I'm going to just bring a bit more green further up into it. Like so. So that's the powder layer. Now this is going to go into a tack fuse. Now I've got to lift it up. Now I'm not going to be able to reclaim these powders, so I'm going to put this straight in the bin. So wish me luck. And there it is, all ready to go. There's quite a lot of space up here above the head. I can always decide to cut this off, or I might, put some features up there. We'll see. We're going to get it in the kiln, get it fired, and we'll have a look at how it is when it comes out. Just before I put this in the kiln, I noticed a couple of bits of powder here, so I'm just using this paintbrush to gently lift them off. So I'm sort of scooping them off and then cleaning it, extra powder with my fingers off the paintbrush to try and keep it as smooth as possible, and then again down here just smoothing out this line a bit. And then to do this chin, I'm just going to actually turn it round. And you know, once I've cleaned it all up, the bits I don't want there, I'll then put it in the kiln. But you can see, you can use this or a cotton bud or whatever you feel comfortable using to clean off any bits that you didn't want. In fact, I flicked a bit there and I took a corner off there, which I slightly wish I hadn't, but anyway. You do need to be careful with this that you don't disturb powder that you actually want, like I just did. And here, so I mean, there's doing it but not overdoing it. Okay, I'm not going to touch it anymore, otherwise I think I might make Tonka's nose a mess. Here, this is ready, and now I just sort of want to kind of decorate it into a garden. This is very individual, you know, each person should do the kind of how they like it, but I sort of tend to start all my floral gardens with some coarse frit at the bottom. I don't know why, because I like it. I think it looks good. I like using this extra large mint aventurine green coarse frit. I love for kind of landscapes. I just think it's really pretty. And you're just making sure everything is staying inside the line of the silhouette of the person. Before I put it in the kiln, I'll probably, you know, check the edge and sweep off any of these bits that do end up on it. Rather than doing it every 2 seconds as I'm going. So a little bit more. Again, you know, with this I try and use low lights and highlights, so my kind of darker areas tend to be my aventurine, light aventurine, and that's a medium one, and then I've got a little bit of aquamarine in there to bring a bit of blue, and this is I think leaf green transparent here, so that's a bit of that. So once I've got those in, normally I would start then, if I was doing a landscape, put a few stringers down, put a few flowers down, but because I want to fill up the whole head with kind of stringers and bring them quite much to the edge of the outline, I'm going to put pretty much most of my stringers down, and then I'll think about putting the flowers on afterwards. I have had a thought, and I want to use some of these our flamework bluebells in this piece because I think the colour's just beautiful. I'm absolutely loving my powder combinations here. I'm pretty sure I said them in the video, but it's nice using a bit of emerald because it lifts it, this is brighter green. And then the light sky blue at the top is a bit purpley, which I really like as well. And with the kind of spring green at the bottom, but also with the lighter mint green, it works really well. So I'm going to start by doing this, and then I'm going to just carry on adding stringers, sort of trying to fill up the area as much as possible using longer and shorter stringers throughout. So I'm going to do this, and then in a bit I'll get you to come back to me. So here you can see I put the stringers down, and now I'm going to start on putting kind of flowers on top as and where I want them. And I'm going to get on and do that and get you to come back to me after it. Just a quick thing, I have put some of the gel, everyone always asks, glass tack gel, Bullseye glue, just to hold the stringers in place. I didn't at the beginning and then they kept jumping all over the place. And you do kind of want them in a kind of exact place so that they're inside the lines of the silhouette. So for Mila's, we wanted to do a landscape inside. We don't need to worry about the edges because we're going to put the vinyl on afterwards and sandblast it off, so it doesn't matter so much. I've got this so I know that I need to take the colour all the way to the outside here. The only reason why this is white in the middle is so we could draw the landscape in easier, and so we didn't use so much colour printing. So then we've cut out a template to do the powders, so just sketched it on, cut the pieces, we've labelled them 1, 2 and 3. So for me, I'm going to put the glass on top of the picture. I'm just going to move it this way a little bit so there's a bit of more space for the hair out the back. at the front, and then I'm going to do the land first. So that's that piece. Now Mila has two very lovely dogs called Ziggy and Bobo, and I think that she's going to want to put her Ziggy and Bobo inside her head, because this is about, you know, what's the person who you're doing this piece for, what's, you know, what's inside their head, what do they love. Mila loves going to the sea with her doggles. Now I've taken the wrong piece away because I'm talking about Mila and her dogs and not concentrating on what I'm doing. Alrighty, so put number 4 back, and then there's this. Now we're sort of doing beach for this. I've chosen for the beach, I've got my mask on now guys, so I hope you can hear me, a bit of French vanilla, and I'm just mixing it. I always think beaches are quite hard in powders for Bullseye. I'm just going to put a tiny pinch of woodland brown in it and sort of mix it together. I'm not sort of worrying about mixing it too thoroughly. And then I'm putting that in my sieve. And then now the issue is this is going to be French vanilla on white glass, so I'm probably going to add a little bit more to it, just to, otherwise it might disappear. So you can see that I'm going well outside the lines of what we need for the picture, just because I want to make sure that I've got enough here. I'm just going to add I've got a tiny bit more of this in the pot. Add a bit more of that. And some cream opal. Right, and take another pinch of the woollen wound on top of some cream. You can see it's quite nice, speckled, sort of not pretty organic looking. So that's that there. Now I haven't put tabs to pick this one up, because I know I can kind of just pull this back over this way. Put that in there. And then I'm going to, and because this is sort of a landscape, there can be a bit of mixing of colours. And I just need to get a paintbrush now to paint this away. So next I'm just going to line this up over the top of here, gently. And I need to think where this is going to put number 3 on. So I'm just going to sort of lay this out, back down again for a second, just to get number 3 into place. Okay. It's going to have a bit of blurring of the edges, but it's not, it doesn't matter 100%, because it's a sort of, it's a landscape, it's all supposed to be blurred. So now I'm choosing my colours that I'm using for my sea. I'm using a bit of turquoise, I love a bit of turquoise blue. This is my sea. And the proportion of, in the picture, most of it is going to be sea. So I'm going to go with a few other colours in here to sort of give it, lift it a bit. Taking some Egyptian blue, put kind of more along the horizon area, so it's sort of like deeper water. And then a little bit of light cyan. I'll add around here. And I'm just going to take a bit of powder blue just to add a bit of lightness. Not much. A little bit.
It's always hard with powders, you don't really see. If you're good at with enamels, almost this is an easier job to do with enamels. And then you can see what you're doing. So now we've got this area done. I'm going to put that on over the top there and move that one away. And we can get rid of that powder there. And we've got our next layer of hills. Now we've got 2 layers of hills. So I want to go with a kind of a darker to lighter. So I'm going to start with some pea pod. Pea pod's a good green, but it's a little bit muted. So it's quite good in sort of the distant landscape. If you use spring green, it'd be maybe a bit too vibrant. To that, I'm going to take a little bit of woodland brown in my fingers and just sort of kind of dotted on. We're also going to put more on afterwards, so I'm not so worried. I can add details afterwards, and I'm going to take a bit of adventuring as well, just to sort of add a bit of texture here and there. So that's that layer. Now we want to do the next layer, so it's good to put I'm confused now. There we go. That's that there. Go back in there and we'll pull that out. Take my paintbrush, sweep off the bits we don't want. And now for the next layer I wanted a bit muted. So I want to take the pea pod but tone it down a bit. I'm just going to make sure I've got the gaps right. So I'm going to take some pea pod in this pot and add a good dollop of mint, which is a much lighter, more muted colour, and kind of mix them together. So we're getting a kind of lighter pea pod colour. I can put that in my sieve and go over the top. If you want to do kind of landscapes and really understand landscapes and get good at them, you should look at Paul Messie's deep landscape video. He's brilliant on them, and he can give you some much better detailed details on how to do a good landscape. I've got his video and it's fantastic. I'm trying to make sure I don't use any of his tips here, but really you should go and have a look at his. And finally, actually in Clare Hall, if you can get to a Clare Hall landscape, of course hers are amazing. Anyway, enough promotion. Finally we're just doing the sky. And so I'm going to take some sky colours. These are transparent, so I've got light turquoise. Quite a good layer of that. I'm going to put some light sky blue in. And I've kind of got all the way across here. I'm forgetting that actually only a little bit of this will be seen, because most of it will be outside the size of the head. So that's probably pretty good. So now I finally have to do the tough job, which is to take these off. So I find if I pull them tight, and take them off. They're going to move stuff around a bit, hopefully not too much. As I said, we're still going to put more on after this, and it's a sort of, you know, it's a feeling of a landscape. I'm going to take that piece off first, rather than a kind of, you know, it needs to be 100% accurate. But that's all right. This will all be, a lot of that will be sandblasted off. I can add a little bit more French vanilla where this is anyway. And actually we might want to put a bit of green here, because it could be, you know, going into more green land down this area of the picture. So this will go in the kiln, take off my mask quickly, this will go in the kiln on a tack fuse, and then after that we can put the stencil on and sandblast it. So here they are out of the kiln. I went to a 700 tack fuse. That's a very, very light stick to tack fuse. So it's still got very much the rough texture of the powder. Now I need to put this on so I can sandblast the image off. I've got Sandra here who's going to help me. And my little dog in the background deciding to have a little bit of barking, chasing a bicycle. So we're going to... Sandra, if you can take at the front end. I'll take the back end there. So we need to line up the neck here. We've got to be quite far this way. Okay, I'm going to hold this down so then Sandra can... So there we go. And once this is all down, I'm going to really push it down now. And so I can get it in the sandblaster and sandblast off the glass from outside the hair area. So I'm going to go and do that now. When I tried to stick the vinyl stencil to this, it just wouldn't stick because of the rough surface, because it's such a low tack fuse. I'm going to put it back in, take it higher. In my schedule at the end of this YouTube video, I will show you the higher schedule for this and the other one. They can both go on that higher schedule and it'll be fine. So this is a great example where I'm going to say, don't do what Tabitha's done. I was being a bit of an idiot when I put this one together. And I brought all my powder right the way out to the edges and right the way out here, and I wasn't really thinking. And I just spent nearly an hour trying to sandblast the excess powder off. And now I've given up, guys. I can't do it anymore. It's too boring. But if you're doing this and you want to do this project, and kind of the reason why I did it rather than doing it how I did the other one of Tonka and, you know, put a stencil around the outside, I just thought it was going to move too much trying to do the landscape, and it would be easier just kind of, you know, putting the landscape powders down and then sandblasting off around the edge. But many of you don't have sandblasters, and with too much powder, it's just too hard. So if I was going to do it again, I probably would just, in card, cut the stencil out, and then use sort of, try and do the landscape on top of the stencil, and maybe even glue the stencil down a bit so that it just held in place, and then sort of lift it up afterwards. So I'm going to have, mine's going to have a little bit of dirtiness around the edge, but as it's a present for Mila, and Mila's going to do it, she doesn't mind, do you, Mila?
No.
So now, because this is a present for Mila, and this is for her to do, and I wanted to kind of show, different ideas that different people are coming up with, I'm now going to hand this project over to Mila, and Mila's going to show, we're just going to show you an idea of how she's finished this one off. So I'm going to show you how I finished Tonka's one off, and then I'm going to show you a few more ideas about how to do different ideas using a silhouette of a person, and kind of different things you could perhaps create with this idea to make a personalised piece of artwork. As I said in my intro, this is trying to think about, a really special present for someone this Christmas who you love, and bringing in their face into it could be a really nice way of doing it. So Mila's going to carry on with that one, and we'll see how she gets on. So Mila here is using a Sharpie to draw the shape she wants on the glass, the sort of more pictorial images. She's basically taken the images she needs off kind of photographs she has and off the internet, and she was sort of planning to sort of trace them over, but she can't really see it very well. But so she's just sort of copying them onto the glass, and then we'll use glass line
and enamels to paint it on, and when she starts painting it on I will do a little video of that. So now Mila has got it all sketched out on the piece. She's now going to go over it with black enamel. She's just using this is some simple black enamel we get from Screen Easy in England, but I'm sure you can get similar black enamel all over the world. And she's just going to paint over the area she wants. She's also made this, which will be the little buggy for her forthcoming baby. We're all very excited we're having our first glass studio baby. So I'm going to let Mila get on with that rather than staring over her shoulder. So here's this one finished. Mila's done a beautiful job with her Ziggy and Boba, her two dogs, and her husband Steve, and their future baby. I think it's beautiful, and I really look forward to seeing how it is when it comes out of the kiln. I've just made sure when we finished it up to just clear off any kind of loose frit that landed on the white. And then this is the second one, which I love, which is the sort of flower garden in the head with lots of lovely butterflies around. So this is using our lavender butterflies and our fairy wings excels as butterflies as well. And we've also got some lamp-worked flowers here, which we stuff with a little bit of fibre paper just to make sure they stay out. These will go on a low tack fuse, like a 735, to try and really keep the shape of the flowers and everything else on it. I really look forward to seeing how they come out, and we'll have a look. So here's this one out of the kiln, all fully fused. I absolutely love this piece. I think it's lovely. Really kind of pretty for any kind of garden lovers out there as a present. We've had a little kiln gremlin. Sometimes this happens, guys. Pieces move in the kiln. I'm not going to worry. It's like the flowers floating out of Tonka's head. I don't normally do big sale on my kind of murrini, but there are some such pretty ones on here. I just want to point them out. Gotta love our flamework flowers. I think they work so well. Just point these ones out. These are our sugar plum flowers, and they are just so pretty. They work so well on a tack fuse. Kind of, they slightly shrink in, but they work really well. And I'm just going to point these ones out because these are coming out for sale this week, and these will be called pink dahlias. And I just think they're so pretty. They're using like light pink and French vanilla, so the more you fire them, the darker they go. But if you keep the firing of them light, they stay really nice and pink. So kind of if you've just fired them once on a tack fuse, this has actually been fired twice, so they've gone a bit darker, but they go darker with the more times you fire them, but less times they stay more pink. So those are really pretty. And you've got our purple hydrangeas here, and the fairy wings, which we've turned into butterflies. I think this is just a really, really lovely piece. I hope you've liked it too, and fancy making one yourselves. So this is how it came out. I think it looks great. I think the idea of the kind of pictorial story behind, this is for Mila, so we've got Kirk, the island behind us, which we can see kind of out of our windows in the background, and the sea and her dogs and her baby to come in it. So it's a really nice, if you've got a special present for someone who is getting married or having a baby, or just anything in their life, this could be a perfect one. Or you just want to give someone a really good Christmas present, or you get a commission and they want something special. Again, Coral, I think it was Coral's mum, came up with the idea of you could do two faces. So you could do, the woman's here and the man's here, and they could be together, or you could do the woman's here and the man's here, and it's sort of becoming almost a heart here. So there are so many different ideas with this particular one you could do, and I can't wait to see what everyone comes up with. So another idea I had for doing a person silhouette in glass was to use Lena Beckeus Batik technique. And I cut 2 layers of glass, a piece of texture and French vanilla, out in profile style. I did her technique on top, and then I fired it. But the problem is this, because it's a little bit more than 6mm, we've really lost the shape of the face. So I've now gone over it, and I'm going to cut it like this and put it in for a fire polish. So if you've got her tutorial, which is a fantastic tutorial to get, and you want to give this a go, you're going to have to be aware that you may have to afterwards rework the shape a bit to get the face back. My idea, this was Sandra's face, and it's all the craziness that goes on in Sandra's head. So using that really cool technique there. So as you can see, we've now reshaped the edge of it, and it now very much looks like Sandra's face. Because it's 6mm of glass, you have to be very careful when you're cutting these if you're using a Taurus saw, unless you're using the blade that's designed to cut thick glass, which we didn't have on because we were being lazy and didn't bother changing it, because you can really mess up if you go too fast. Mila did this and she went incredibly slowly. So that's already, we're now going to put it in the kiln to do a fire polish on it. I quite like the fact that this edge is kind of straight and this edge has a curve on it. I think it quite works for the project. In a way I might cut here, so this is kind of, the hair is a softer edge and the neck is a harder edge, and I'm going to do that, and then it will go in the kiln like this, and I'll keep the, you know, because I'm going to do a really low fire polish on it, so it will keep this sharper edge here, and this will keep the soft edge, and I think that will work really well. So I'm going to put that one back in the kiln, and we'll see how it is when it comes out. So here's Sandra's out of after the fire polish, and we decided it'd be nice to put some words in Sandra's head. This was an idea of corals, of, you know, personalising it a bit more and putting words about how we all thought, you know, Sandra is. So we put like happy and quirky and eccentric and creative and innovative. I knew I shouldn't try and say that one. And I'm lucky I got a silhouette cutter, so we've put the words on a silhouette and cut them out of vinyl. Lose the M there if I'm not careful. And now I'm going to get them onto, I'm going to get it onto here, and then I'll weed out any letters that are missing. So I'm going to get this on and then weed out the letters. So here this is with the letters sandblasted on. Now you could have, instead of sandblasting, enameled this. So once you've got the vinyl on, you could just put your enamel over the top and then pulled it off, and you'd ended up with enamel letters. I wanted it a bit subtle. I like the fact that it's not, you know, so in your face, and you have to kind of, you know, look closely to read what's inside someone, because that's not always clear. So I really love this idea as a sort of simple technique. Admittedly, you do have to cut their face out of with the Taurus saw, which can be difficult. You could, however, if you wanted to, you could utilise one of the many water jet cutters out there. I know that Sobo in England are doing water jet cutting personalised. I think Glass Studio Supplies are doing it. In America, I'm sure there's lots of people out there. If you put it on one of the groups, lots of people come forward and they could water jet cut you the shape, so you weren't having to use your Taurus saw. In fact, if I was going to do that, I'd probably do it out of 3mm and 2mm colour to compensate for the powder on top, so you wouldn't get so much spillage, so you would keep the shape. So that's an idea for that one. So this was another idea I had. This is using Coral's face. So basically, this is something I saw on Pinterest, I'm sure. So I took a photograph of Coral getting her face lifted up slightly, so she was sort of looking up. I've then taken this shape here. I then cut this out of 3mm paper because I wasn't going to a full fuse. I then cut murrini at about 6 to 8mm deep. I wanted them slightly bigger than 6mm, so that there was space for them to sort of sink down a bit into the gaps, so they would all join together. I then fused this together at a kind of warmer tack fuse, sort of near a contour fuse, and then it came out just like this. And I love this. I think if you know, mount it on another piece of glass, or you could put it in a box frame, it would just be a really kind of elegant, simple piece on its own. This also doesn't use that much murrini. There's about, in weight, in this piece, there was about 60 grams worth of murrini. So it's a really lovely Christmas present for someone, which is completely personalised. It's a kind of good use of murrini. I also used entirely floral murrini in here, and you could mix it up. You could choose to go blues, and you could use one of our blue mixes and put that in instead. But I thought I'd sort of kind of mix it up and go lots of different colours. So that's another idea you could do with these. I had another idea, which was using my technique of fibre paper casting, using 6mm fibre paper to do a silhouette of someone. So this was Lucija. She wanted a ponytail, so we kind of drew around her with a ponytail and then cut it out of 6mm fibre paper and filled it up with scrap and a bit of dichroic glass, which I also think is a really nice technique. She was really pleased with it. She wanted blacks and reds, and I just thought it'd be nice to add a bit of dichroic and a bit of irid clear frit on the top. And I think this works really well and could be a really nice Christmas present for someone as well. So this was another idea I had, which was to make a deep landscape. Now there's some fantastic tutorials out there to do deep landscapes. I've got Paul Messie's. I'm not going to show you how to make one. I would suggest you use someone who's, you know, who has an excellent tutorial on how to use a deep landscape, and then this is just another add-on to it if you want. So this is one just with silver birches. It was 5 layers thick. I full fused it, annealing it per Bullseye schedule. I then cold worked the edges and I tack fused it. Now I went to a really low tack fuse, but my kiln is on the fritz and it went too hot, so it's relaxed much more than I want. So my initial idea was I took this is a present from my father. I took a side picture of my daughters, and I was going to put them on here and sandblast just the front, so you still had clear in the side. So if you're sort of looking at it side on, you see clear, but only front on you see the silhouette. But it's relaxed quite a lot, as I said. I may decide before I give it to him to recut the edges slightly and work them and then put it in for a final fire polish. But for the moment, I've just got the second silhouette to put on. So again, I took their image. We then actually, because I hadn't done them very well and it's hard to get kids to stay still, we took a Sharpie and we drew over the image. And then we were able to get a good kind of cut out of them in the silhouette to get this. And then we had to elongate the neck slightly to make it work. So this one is going on like so. I've managed to... Okay, and then I will go and sandblast both of these, and so that there is their silhouettes in this nice 3D tree design. So that will need to be sandblasted. Just a quick thing about my products. Right now, I'm the only place you can get my products from, which is www.glassbytabitha.com. I do sell wholesale. There's no one in America at the moment stocking my stuff, but if there's anyone out there who would like to, you can always get in contact, and we do wholesale prices. But right now, this is where we get it. We ship worldwide, really amazing shipping prices. My products are also cheaper than most people out there because of how I use the whole of the pull. And yes, you get some at the beginning and some at the end, which aren't so good, but I think everyone can utilize these in projects. And for me, it's about being a little bit greener. It's about thinking about the environment, and if I use and can sell the whole of the pull, I'm not trying to reuse glass in pools, which is not great for reusing glass again and again, particularly at high temperature vitrograph pools. Plus, I'm being slightly greener in the environment, which is why I sell the confetti, because people can use these things in their products, which does make me probably cheaper out there. You can buy it in cane, you can buy it in slices, so you're not having to think, oh, how do I slice, the murrini? And our slices are really, really good thin, thickness. That's how thin our slices on average are. Sometimes they're a little bit thicker, there's a little bit thicker one there, but mostly they're pretty good and nice and thin. So, that's the kind of products you're going to get from us. And also, I think we offer a pretty damn good service. When it comes to customer service, it's something I pride myself on. So I'm sorry for the little ad in here, but, I had to try. So here are all the projects together. This one you can see we've sandblasted the edge now. It worked really well on this one because the profile was out in the green area, whereas here it's over the tree. It hasn't worked so well. So if I was going to do this again, I would probably make sure that the design was the face was over a sort of darker area where you get better contrast and can kind of see it. So you need to think about if you're going to design that in a deep landscape. There's some great tutorials, as I say, for deep landscapes out there. I love Paul Messink's one. He's got a really good one. It used to be with AAE. I think he's now doing it on his own now. So if you can look that one up, he'll show you how to do landscapes, and then you can think how to put a silhouette into those. Looking at this, you could do this with bob leather barrows. Crackle technique would be really interesting. I've got a list of kind of so many different fantastic tutorials out there that I was thinking you could kind of use with this. You know, this one you could do Christina, and sorry Christina, I'm going to get your surname, Schnellboggle enam technique with this, which would be really cool. But you could do kind of Christina's Eden technique with kind of, you know, something like one of these two and have that technique thrown in. Some other, you know, Christina's enamels, you know, you've got Mark Hufford's enamels would be great with this sort of design, because you could use it and you'd have slightly less in the face, and it would be really pretty with kind of you know, a silhouette with, you know, Mark's beautiful enamel designs, and then would look great. Mark, if you ever see this, please try it. I'd love to see it. Also, I've got Nancy Weiser's Dream Garden. Oh, so beautiful. I think I'm addicted just to watching videos and never having the time actually to do them. It's terrible, but Nancy, I just love her video, and I'd love to sort of do like her idea of a dream garden in a silhouette would be so pretty. And even Dale's working the pattern, you know, taking pattern bars and putting pattern bars into this would be so cool. So I think I've mentioned it, I've literally got a list by my side here, because the other day I was like, oh no, I forgot to, you know, I think I filmed this ending about 4 times now, because I keep getting it wrong or forgetting someone and going, oh no, I've forgotten this person. And their tutorial would be amazing with using this technique. So as you can see, it's got a multitude of options, and I can't wait to see what everyone comes up with. And I hope you've liked this YouTube video, and if you have, please subscribe.